Welcome to this channel. Progressive Patterns is all about the journey of personal growth and discovering your next step toward meaningful progress. Here you'll find valuable insights and practical tools to help you take that step confidently, empowering you to move forward and make a real difference, both for yourself and for those around you. So, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tune into the podcast.
Welcome to a deep dive
Oh, cool.
into something, we all experience but maybe don't fully understand, the drama triangle.
Right.
And this fascinating counterpart,
Okay.
the winner's triangle.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Have you ever felt like,
Yeah.
certain conversations just spiral into negativity?
All the time, yeah.
Today, we're going to kind of unpack the psychology behind those patterns.
Oh, cool.
We've got some great sources for this one.
Awesome.
Some in English and some in Dutch.
Okay.
Don't worry, we'll be breaking it all down for you in English,
Yeah.
focusing on, the most impactful points from all the sources.
Sounds good.
You're going to learn a lot today, I think. You're going to gain some real aha moments
Yeah.
for recognizing and maybe even
Oh, nice.
breaking free from these common but often unproductive ways of interacting.
Right. Yeah, I think what's really interesting is even like being a bystander
Oh, it's
to these dynamics has a psychological explanation, and you'll
Yeah.
be surprised the role that bystanders can play, for better or worse.
okay.
But first, let's set the stage.
Okay.
The drama triangle, which is a model of interpersonal communication, basically.
Right.
Shows how we can get stuck in these negative loops with each other.
Okay, so we're talking about like how we communicate with each other.
Right.
But drama triangle sounds a bit intense.
Yeah.
Is this like reality TV show
Sure.
gone wrong?
It can feel that way sometimes.
Yeah.
The drama triangle highlights three main roles that people tend to fall into.
Mhm.
Victim, rescuer, and persecutor.
I'm already thinking of a few people
Right.
that fit those labels.
Exactly.
So walk us through each of those roles.
Okay.
What does each one look like in action?
Let's start with the victim.
Okay.
This is the person who feels powerless,
Mm-hmm.
always seeking help from others, convinced that they can't handle things themselves. Our Dutch source actually really drives this home, using terms that translate to like defensive, submissive, even overly adapted.
Wow.
Paints a picture of someone who might say something like, I don't think I can do that,
Mm-hmm.
even for things that they are perfectly capable of.
Yeah, I've definitely been there, feeling totally overwhelmed.
Sure.
Wanting someone to just swoop in and save the day.
Right.
It's so tempting to fall into that rescue me mode.
Yeah.
So what about the rescuer then?
Okay.
Do they always have, good
I-
intentions?
That's where things get a little bit tricky.
Okay.
The rescuer, on the surface, seems helpful. They
Wow.
jump in, often unsolicited,
Okay.
to fix the victim's problems.
No.
But the deeper motivation can sometimes be about feeling superior
Oh, interesting.
or needed.
Okay.
And this actually reinforces the victim's helplessness in the long run.
Yeah.
Think of that colleague who always has to offer advice, even when you didn't ask for it.
Oh, totally.
Classic, let me help you with that.
Yeah.
Even though you might not need help at all.
It makes me think about like those times when someone's trying to be helpful,
Yeah.
but it makes me feel like less capable.
Sure.
So if the victim is, helpless and the rescuer is maybe a little too helpful,
Right.
where does the persecutor fit into all of this?
The persecutor.
Yeah.
This is the role that often adds fuel to the fire.
Okay.
They're critical, blaming, putting others down, seeking to control the situation.
Ooh, intense.
The Dutch source even uses words like rigid and authoritarian to describe them,
Wow.
which adds like a whole other layer
Yeah.
of intensity.
Yeah.
They're the ones who might say something like,
Okay.
look what you've done,
Uh-huh.
placing blame rather than looking for a solution.
Gosh, those descriptions are so vivid. I can practically hear the persecutor's voice. But
Yeah.
how do these roles actually play out in a,
Right.
real conversation?
Sure.
It's not like people have labels on their foreheads.
Yeah, exactly. What makes the drama triangle so fascinating and sometimes frustrating is that these roles are fluid.
Okay.
People can shift from one to another within the same interaction or even play multiple roles at once.
Oh, wow.
That's how we get stuck
Right.
in these cycles of negativity.
So it's not about like labeling people.
Right.
It's about recognizing the patterns.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm already starting to see how this plays out
Sure.
in my own life.
Yeah.
But this all sounds pretty bleak.
It can be.
If we're always switching between these kind of negative roles, is there any way to break free?
Thankfully, there is.
Okay, good.
There's a more positive and empowering model, also described in our Dutch source, called the winner's triangle.
Winner's triangle.
Yeah.
Okay, I like the sound of that already.
It's like the drama triangle's optimistic cousin,
Okay.
offering a path towards healthier interactions and personal growth.
So it's a complete mindset shift.
Right.
Tell me more about how it works. Who are the players?
Okay, so instead of victims, rescuers, and persecutors, we have creators, coaches, and challengers.
Okay.
And instead of perpetuating negativity,
Right.
these roles are all about taking responsibility, supporting growth, and achieving positive results.
Okay, so what do those roles actually look like in, a conversation?
Let's start with the creator.
Okay.
Instead of feeling helpless like the victim, the creator takes responsibility for their own situation.
Okay.
They're proactive and solution-focused, embracing the idea that I'm okay, you're okay.
So no more like, woe is me.
Right.
It's about taking charge.
Exactly.
I like that.
Good.
But wouldn't a creator need, some guidance sometimes?
Of course.
That's where the coach comes in?
That's where the coach comes in.
Right.
You got it.
Okay.
The coach provides guidance and support, but without rescuing.
Okay.
Think of like a sports coach.
Right.
They don't play the game for you,
Right.
but they help you develop your skills and strategize. The coach empowers others to find their own solutions.
I could see how that would be so much more helpful
Yeah.
than just being told what to do.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got the proactive creator and the supportive coach,
Right.
who is the challenger in this scenario.
Yeah.
They sound a little intimidating.
Don't let the name fool you.
Okay.
The challenger is actually a very positive force.
Okay.
They provide constructive feedback, they encourage growth, they push others to reach their full potential.
Okay.
They challenge in a way that helps you improve, not just tears you down.
So it's about pushing each other to be our best selves,
Right.
but in a, supportive way.
Exactly.
I'm already starting to see how much healthier this dynamic is.
Me too.
But how do we actually move from that, drama triangle to this winner's triangle?
Right.
It sounds great in theory,
Yeah.
but is it really that simple to just switch roles?
It's not always easy,
Right.
but it's definitely possible. Our Dutch source outlines 3 approaches for breaking free from the drama triangle:
Okay.
the problem-focused, the solution-focused, and the potential-focused.
3 approaches.
Yeah.
That's
So
fine.
what's the difference between them, and what makes the potential-focused approach so special?
Yeah. What makes the potential focus?
Well, the potential-focused approach is all about looking forward and embracing possibilities.
Yeah.
It's not about dwelling on the past or even just fixing the present. It's about tapping into your potential and creating a future where you're truly thriving.
Okay.
So that's kind of a very quick overview of those 3.
This is getting me really intrigued. I'm already starting to think about how I can apply this in my own life. But
Cool.
hold on, we haven't talked about the bystanders yet.
Right.
What about those people who witness these dynamics but don't actively participate?
Yeah.
Are they off the hook?
Not quite.
Okay.
We've got some fascinating insights from Ilko Stellman's blogs,
Okay.
originally published on a Dutch internet, but available in English, that dive into the often overlooked role of the bystander in both triangles.
Wait, bystanders?
Yeah.
I thought they were just innocent observers.
Right.
How can someone who's not even participating be part of the problem?
It's all about the subtle ways we might enable these negative dynamics, even without realizing it.
Okay, now I'm really curious. Spill the tea. How do bystanders play a role in all of this?
Bystanders can unintentionally perpetuate the drama, by remaining silent
Okay.
and passive, essentially giving their tacit approval to what's happening.
Right.
They might also laugh at inappropriate jokes or behavior,
Oh, yeah.
which further normalizes the negativity.
Okay.
And sometimes it's about failing to take responsibility for their own part in the situation, even as an observer.
I'm starting to realize I've probably been a passive bystander.
Sure.
More often than I like to admit.
Right.
But Ilka's blogs aren't all doom and gloom, right?
No, not at all.
What about the flip side?
Okay.
How can bystanders become a force for good? Shifting the dynamic towards that winner's triangle.
That's the exciting part. Bystanders have this untapped potential to be agents of change.
Okay.
And it starts with recognizing their own power to influence the situation.
Okay, so how does a bystander actually step up and make a difference?
Right.
It feels risky to intervene in someone else's drama.
It's not about jumping into the ring as a referee.
Okay.
It's about subtle but powerful shifts.
Okay.
A bystander can use their voice to speak up against harmful behavior, setting a clear example that it's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
They can set boundaries even with simple statements like,
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with this conversation.
Okay.
And most importantly, they can actively support those who are trying to break free from the drama.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like being an ally, not a rescuer.
Exactly.
Can you give me a concrete example of what that bystander action might look like
Sure.
in a real situation?
Absolutely. So imagine a colleague is constantly complaining and playing the victim about their workload. A bystander stuck in the drama triangle might just nod along or offer empty platitudes.
Yeah.
But a winner's triangle bystander could gently challenge that perspective.
Okay.
They might ask empowering questions like,
Okay.
what have you already tried to address this? Or what resources are available to you that you haven't tapped into yet?
Those questions totally shift the focus.
Right.
Instead of feeding into that victim mentality.
Exactly.
It encourages the person to, like, take ownership and explore solutions.
Right.
But what about when someone is being the persecutor?
Yeah.
That feels tougher to address.
It can be, but remember those assertive communication skills we talked
Okay.
about earlier?
Mm-hmm.
If a colleague is being overly critical or blaming, the bystander can set a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
A simple, I hear your frustration, but I'm not comfortable with how you're talking about this,
Right.
can be surprisingly effective.
Okay.
Or they could try reframing the criticism, maybe asking, can you give me specific examples so we can find solutions together?
Yeah. It's like we're diffusing the drama bomb
Right.
by shifting the focus to collaboration and understanding.
Exactly.
This is making me realize that even as bystanders, we have this, like, responsibility
Yeah,
to create a more positive environment.
absolutely.
But what if the drama isn't directed at us?
Right.
Like, if two other people are locked in a power struggle,
Sure.
how does a bystander navigate that?
That's where recognizing those subtle cues becomes important.
Okay.
A bystander can choose not to feed into the negativity.
Right.
They can simply avoid taking sides or engaging in gossip, even if it's tempting.
So it's about choosing neutrality,
Exactly.
not getting pulled into their drama vortex.
Right.
But wouldn't that make the bystander seem, like, aloof or uncaring?
Not necessarily. It's about focusing on positive actions instead.
Okay.
The bystander can redirect the conversation towards something more constructive.
Okay.
Or if the situation feels too intense,
Right.
they can politely excuse themselves, stating they have other work to attend to.
I'm starting to see how powerful those seemingly small choices can be.
They can be.
It's like we're subtly shifting the energy of the entire situation.
Right.
This is making me think about those times I've laughed along at a joke that I knew was inappropriate.
Yeah.
I didn't want to, like, rock the boat,
Sure.
but I was inadvertently reinforcing that behavior.
Right. And that's a perfect example
Yep.
of how seemingly harmless bystander actions can actually fuel the drama.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of an anecdote that Ilko shared in one of his blogs.
Hmm.
He was writing about the drama triangle and had chosen a picture of Marilyn Monroe to accompany his post.
Okay, Marilyn Monroe, drama.
Right.
I see the connection.
Right. But a colleague pointed out that the image could be seen as stereotypical and even a bit exploitative.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right.
He was unintentionally perpetuating a stereotype,
Exactly.
even though he didn't intend any harm.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that several other colleagues had seen the image,
Right.
but hadn't said anything. It took that one person speaking up for Elko to recognize the impact of his choice.
That's such a powerful illustration of
Yeah.
how crucial bystanders are.
Right.
And it highlights the importance of speaking up even when it feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But let's flip the script back to the, like, individual level.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about how to recognize these patterns,
Mm-hmm.
but how do we actually start changing our own behavior?
Yeah.
It feels overwhelming to go from drama queen to empowerment guru overnight.
You're absolutely right. It's a journey, not a sprint.
Right.
And one of the first steps is becoming more self-aware.
Okay.
We need to recognize our own tendencies.
Okay.
Which roles do we typically fall into? Do we tend to play the victim, always needing rescuing?
Hmm.
Or maybe we're chronic rescuers, jumping in to fix everyone's problems?
This is making me realize I'm probably a rescuer in disguise. I love helping people,
Yeah.
but maybe sometimes I do it to feel needed, not because it's truly helpful.
Right.
But how do we actually catch ourselves in those moments?
Yeah. Right.
It's not like we have a flashing neon sign that goes off when we're slipping into a drama triangle role?
It's about paying attention to our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
Okay.
For example, if you find yourself constantly feeling helpless, blaming others, or seeking someone to fix your problems, those are signs you might be stuck in the victim role.
Okay, so it's like those internal alarm bells should be going off.
Exactly.
What about the other roles?
Yeah.
How do we spot those patterns in ourselves?
Well, if you're always offering unsolicited advice,
Mm-hmm.
feeling the need to fix everyone's problems, or taking on more responsibility than is healthy for you,
Right.
that could be the rescuer role.
Okay.
And if you're quick to criticize, blame, or control others, that might be the persecutor rearing its head.
Okay, so we've got our drama detectors activated.
Right.
But once we've identified our tendencies, how do we actually start changing those deeply ingrained habits?
Right.
It feels like those patterns are like wired into our brains.
It's true, those patterns can become deeply ingrained.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, our brains are incredibly adaptable.
Okay, good.
We can rewire those neural pathways.
It's reassuring.
So how do we actually reprogram ourselves for empowerment?
Yeah, where do we even begin?
One powerful technique is to start reframing our perspective.
Okay.
Instead of focusing on problems and limitations,
Right.
let's shift our attention to possibilities.
Okay.
Remember that potential-focused approach we talked about earlier?
Mm-hmm.
It's about tapping into our creativity and envisioning a future where we're thriving, not just surviving.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like taking off those like drama-tinted glasses and putting on a pair of like rose-colored possibility-tinted ones.
Exactly.
But what about those moments when we're already knee-deep in a drama-filled situation?
Right.
Is it possible to change the dynamic mid-conversation?
Absolutely. It all comes down to conscious communication.
Okay.
Instead of reacting habitually from those ingrained roles, let's hit the pause button, take a breath, and choose a response that comes from a place of empowerment, not a knee-jerk reaction.
Okay, I'm ready to channel my inner communication guru.
Right.
But can you give me some specific examples of how to actually turn those like drama dialogues into winner's triangle conversations?
Of course.
Okay.
Let's say a colleague approaches you, playing the victim, about a problem they're having.
Right.
Instead of immediately jumping in to rescue them,
Okay.
try asking empowering questions like,
Okay.
what have you already tried to address this? Or what resources do you have available that you haven't used yet?
Okay.
This encourages them to step into that creator role.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
It's like we're handing them a toolbox
Right.
instead of just fixing everything for them.
Exactly.
What about when someone is being the persecutor, like criticizing our work
Right.
or blaming us for something?
Yeah.
How do we respond without like fueling the drama fire?
This is where those assertive communication skills
Right.
really come into play. Instead of
Yeah.
getting defensive or arguing back,
Right.
which just perpetuates the cycle,
Mm-hmm.
we can calmly set a boundary.
Okay.
A simple statement like, I hear your concerns, but I'm not comfortable with the way you're speaking to me,
Right.
can be surprisingly effective.
Wow, that takes some serious emotional intelligence.
It does.
But what if we're the ones who are being the persecutor?
Right.
How do we catch ourselves before we, like, unleash our inner critic on someone?
Self-awareness is key here.
Okay.
We need to pay attention to our language and our tone.
Right.
Are we using accusatory language or putting others down? Are we trying to control the situation or impose our will on others? If we catch ourselves doing those things,
Right.
it's time to consciously reframe our approach.
So it's about replacing those, like, critical statements
Right.
with constructive feedback.
Exactly.
Focusing on solutions rather than blame.
Exactly.
But what if we find ourselves constantly getting sucked into drama with the same person?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe it's a coworker or a family member who just, like, thrives on chaos. Is there any hope for having, like, healthy interactions with those folks?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Sometimes, despite our best efforts,
Yeah.
we simply can't change other people's behavior,
Right.
but we can choose how we respond even when they're determined to play those drama triangle games.
So it's about setting those healthy boundaries
Mm-hmm.
and protecting our own energy.
Exactly. We can choose not to engage in their drama. We can politely excuse ourselves from the conversation, redirect the topic, or simply refuse to play those roles they're assigning us.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like you're saying, sorry, I'm not accepting your invitation to this drama party.
Exactly. And sometimes that act of setting boundaries can actually be a catalyst for change in others.
Oh, interesting.
When their old tactics stop working, they might just be more open to trying a new approach.
This is giving me so much hope.
Yeah.
It's like we really do have the power to shift those dynamics,
You do.
even in those like seemingly impossible situations.
We absolutely do. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
Right.
We're all going to slip back into those drama triangle roles sometimes.
Of course.
The key is to be kind to ourselves, learn from those experiences, and keep practicing those winner's triangle skills.
This is all so incredibly empowering.
It is?
It's like we're taking back control of our communication and our relationships.
Oh, no.
But what about those situations where we're dealing with someone who's in a position of authority over us?
Mm.
Maybe it's a boss, a parent, or a teacher
Right.
who's stuck in those drama triangle patterns.
Right.
How can we navigate those like power dynamics
Right.
without jeopardizing our well-being or our relationships?
Those situations can be incredibly tricky, and there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Right.
But it's crucial to prioritize our own safety and well-being.
Okay.
Sometimes the best course of action is to distance ourselves, either emotionally or physically,
Right.
or to seek support from someone we trust.
That makes sense. Sometimes we need to protect ourselves,
Right.
even if it means like creating some distance from that person.
Exactly.
But what about those times when we can't simply avoid them?
Right.
What are some strategies for navigating those interactions
Sure.
in a way that like minimizes the drama?
One technique is to use reflective listening.
Okay.
When the authority figure is expressing their concerns or frustrations,
Mm-hmm.
try reflecting back what you're hearing without judgment or agreement.
Okay.
It helps them feel heard,
Right.
which can sometimes de-escalate the situation.
So it's about validating their feelings,
Mm-hmm.
even if we don't agree with their perspective.
Exactly.
I could see how that would like create a calmer atmosphere.
Right.
But what if they're still stuck in that persecutor role,
Right.
even after we've tried to de-escalate the situation?
Then it's about setting those boundaries, even if it's subtle.
Okay.
Maybe you politely but firmly state that you understand their perspective, but you're choosing to focus on solutions. Or you could simply refuse to engage in the blame game,
Right.
redirecting the conversation towards a more productive direction.
It's like we're subtly but firmly leading them towards the winner's triangle,
Exactly.
even if they don't realize it.
Right.
But let's be real, those kinds of interactions can be exhausting,
Oh, yeah.
especially if they happen frequently.
For sure.
How do we protect ourselves from getting burned out
Yeah.
when we're constantly dealing with drama triangle dynamics?
That's such an important question.
Yeah.
Self-care is crucial in those situations.
Okay.
Make sure you're taking time for yourself to recharge, whether it's through exercise, meditation, spending time in nature, or connecting with supportive friends.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, you don't have to handle everything alone.
Right.
Seeking support from a therapist or counselor can be incredibly helpful
Okay.
in navigating those challenging relationships and developing those winner's triangle skills.
This is all so incredibly helpful.
Good.
I'm feeling much more equipped to handle those tricky interpersonal dynamics.
Ah,
But before we wrap up,
okay.
I want to touch on something we discussed earlier,
Mhm.
the ripple effect
Right.
of choosing empowerment over drama.
Okay.
Can you elaborate on how our individual choices can create positive change on a larger scale?
It's like our individual choices are like pebbles being dropped into a pond. Each choice creates these ripples that spread outward, impacting those around us.
That's such a powerful thought.
It is.
It's like we're rewriting the script of our relationships, our workplaces, our communities.
Right.
But it can feel like daunting to think about changing the world
Yeah.
one interaction at a time.
Sure.
Where do we even begin?
It starts with focusing on what we can control, which is our own choices.
Okay.
We can't force others to change,
Right.
but we can choose to step out of those drama roles ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Each time we do that, we're creating a little pocket of sanity,
Okay.
a tiny ripple of empowerment that can have far-reaching effects.
So it's about like leading by example,
Mhm.
showing others that there's a different, healthier way to interact.
Exactly.
But what if the people around us are resistant to change?
Right.
What if they're like determined to cling to those drama roles?
It's true. Not everyone is ready or willing to embrace those winner's triangle principles.
Right.
But even if we can't change their behavior, we can choose not to get pulled into their drama.
Okay.
We can set those healthy boundaries, redirect the conversation, or simply excuse ourselves from the situation.
It's like we're gently but firmly saying, I'm not playing this game anymore.
Exactly.
But doesn't that make us seem like uncaring or aloof?
Not at all. It's about recognizing that we can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
We have to protect our own well-being.
Mm.
And sometimes that means creating some distance from those who are constantly draining our energy.
Okay.
It doesn't mean we don't care. It just means we're choosing to focus our energy on interactions that are mutually beneficial and empowering.
That makes perfect sense.
Good.
It's like we're choosing to invest our energy in relationships and situations that support our growth and well-being.
Right.
But realistically, how much impact can one person really have?
Yeah.
Feels like a drop in the ocean sometimes.
Never underestimate the power of one.
Okay.
Think about those historical figures who sparked social change.
Mm-hmm.
It often started with a single individual
Oh,
who dared to challenge the status quo,
right.
to speak truth to power,
Mm-hmm.
to inspire others to dream of a better world.
Wow, that's true.
Yeah.
It's like those individuals became the epicenter
Mm-hmm.
of a seismic shift,
Right.
creating those ripples of change that ultimately transformed entire societies.
Exactly.
But those were like extraordinary people
Yeah.
doing extraordinary things.
Right.
How does that relate to like our everyday interactions?
It's all about shifting our perspective.
Okay.
What if we viewed each interaction, no matter how small, as an opportunity to make a difference?
Okay.
What if we saw ourselves as everyday heroes,
Mm.
armed with the power to choose empowerment over drama? Right.
Imagine the collective impact if we all embraced that mindset.
That's a mind-blowing idea.
Yeah.
It's like we're all part of this grand experiment in human evolution,
Yeah.
and each choice we make contributes to the outcome.
Right.
But it can be hard to maintain that, like, optimistic outlook
Yeah.
when we're bombarded with so much negativity in the world.
Of course.
How do we stay focused on the positive and avoid getting, like, bogged down by the drama?
It's about cultivating those practices that nourish our minds and spirits.
Okay?
Maybe it's meditation, spending time in nature, connecting with loved ones, or pursuing creative endeavors that bring us joy. It's about finding those things that fill our cups so we have the energy and resilience to keep choosing empowerment even when it's challenging.
That's such a great reminder.
Yeah.
It's like we need to create those oases of peace and positivity in our lives.
Right.
So we have the strength to navigate those, like, drama-filled deserts.
Exactly. And remember, it's a journey,
Yeah.
not a destination.
We're all going to have those days when we fall back into those old drama patterns.
Of course.
The key is to be gentle with ourselves, learn from those experiences, and keep practicing those winner's triangle skills.
This has been such an incredible deep dive.
It has been.
I'm feeling so inspired to ditch the drama and embrace those winner's triangle principles in all areas of my life. But before we wrap up,
Okay.
I have to ask, if you could leave our listeners with just one nugget of wisdom
Yeah.
to take away from this conversation, what would it be?
That's easy. Remember that you always have a choice.
Okay.
You can choose to react habitually from those old drama patterns, or you can choose to respond consciously from a place of empowerment. Each choice, no matter how small, creates a ripple effect.
Okay.
Choose wisely and watch those ripples of positivity spread.
That's such a beautiful and empowering message.
It is.
It's like we're all holding the keys to a more positive and fulfilling future, and it all starts with the choices we make in each moment. Wow, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the drama triangle and its empowering alternative, the winner's triangle.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We hope you've enjoyed this journey of self-discovery and empowerment.
Yes.
Remember, you have the power to create a more positive and fulfilling world, starting with yourself and spreading outward to those around you.
Absolutely.
Keep practicing those winner's triangle skills and watch those ripples of positivity spread.
Your support helps this podcast grow and keeps us motivated to bring you meaningful conversations. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to leave a review, share it with a friend, or give us a thumbs up. Thanks for being part of our journey, and we'll see you next time.